Yeah.
Uh, Roll call. And we have two new members with us tonight.
Do you want to
Stephen,
go through including them, or do you want to do an introduction first?
um, go ahead and introduce yourselves. We'll start over here.
Trace. I'm
Let
Tracy
Mike in.
Hovance.
Leave it on, but just move right up to it when you want to speak.
You want to hear?
Um, Experience,
Well,
what you're interested in?
in Winthrop, and we've come and gone a couple times. We have a family of 8. We have 6 children. We have had them within the school district and homeschooled. We, as of a few years ago, bought the farm I grew up on, and we've really enjoyed watching the community grow a lot in a lot of different ways. I've been a part of the community in some of the really hard, dark times that the community went through, and happy to be back and really do what we can and be a part of making the community flourish and also stay good and true to our roots as a small community.
Thank you. Stephen?
I am Steve Mayers. I've been living here in Winthrop for about 5 years. I've been a small business owner involved with renovation and restoration, jacking, leveling houses, and sill replacement, things like that for about 45 years. And so I also worked overseas doing inventories for USAID for about 10 years as a contractor. And so this is my first time here.
Thank you. Introduce yourselves, please. The new members.
Hi, I'm Dwight Dowdy. I'm Greg Stewart.
Rick Dory.
Betty Harris Howard.
Don Mattice.
Don Emerson, and that's the rule. You have a quorum.
How's that, huh? How'd that work? And we have a quorum, and I'll see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Any of the two members voting tonight? No. There's 5 of us here, so
Uh,
7 in all,
You
right?
do not need an alternate to vote. I'm sorry. How many of you are here right now? 1, 2, 3.
There's 7. That's it.
Yeah, so an alternate you can appoint the alternate to vote this
Okay,
evening.
so everybody votes tonight.
Right.
If we have a vote. And what that's all about is that we have two alternates and a new board member. And as Dawn said, it's 7 and 2. And so each meeting we have to determine who gets to vote and who doesn't. Okay? Regular members all vote. It's the 2 alternates that I have to decide which ones are voting. And tonight, everybody's voting. That's what that's all about.
Thank you.
Adjustment to the agenda?
I'd like to note that there are no minutes available. So at the next meeting, we are behind. June 10th and May 27th do need to be approved in addition to this evening for the next meeting. So there'll be 3 unreviewed minutes. And then under 5B, shoreline zoning, I don't have anything new for you on that this evening as well. So I just want to note that in advance for those items.
Okay, let's move on. Next page. Dawn, you want to, that's basically
So
some of the notes. Go ahead.
And you're looking at a memo from the comprehensive plan. So this is a memo that went to the town council. The comprehensive plan committee went to the town council and reviewed economic development section of the comprehensive plan and made some recommendations, and included in those recommendations. If you look on the last page, and there are 3 bullets, and the second bullet speaks
Oh,
to,
I'm sorry, that's 2 pages in. And there's a blank area on the bottom of that page, I think, with the 3, it's got the 3 dots on it.
with the 3 dots. Yep.
Those are notes you're talking about.
Does everyone find that? Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot I attached them all. So yes. So it states that the zoning ordinance, the recommendation is that it be amended to not allow residential uses on the first floor of multi-story mixed-use buildings or buildings that are currently only commercial use located on Main Street between Town Hall Lane and Bowden Street. So this is on the agenda tonight, coincidentally, and they have actually recommended that. So that's in keeping with what you're doing. So I wanted to just bring that to your attention. And they expand a little bit on it. We had just said no residential on the first floor, but they actually expanded that language. So you might want to see if that's something you want to adopt specifically. But the roads that you used were different, Town Hall Lane and Bowden Street. So the behind that, there's a map of the parcels that were identified as fronting on Main Street, and there's 44. And that was between the tracks, the train tracks, and I believe Hanson Street.
Can we change the second bullet, the zoning ordinance be amended to not allow new residential uses rather than residential uses? Because if there are residential uses, we don't want to ban them from using it.
Correct,
So
yes,
there
yep.
are some houses mixed in there, I believe, that are apartments or whatever.
Somehow we need to make it clear so that
Exactly.
that is the case, so we don't start that argument when it's not an argument.
We don't want to, and we don't want to be like, oh, you sold your house, now it can only be commercial, or you can't do anything to your house.
Right.
If it's an existing residential, it's existing residential. It just can't take commercial space and turn it back into residential is all we're trying to prevent, right?
If it's residential and they sell it to someone and they make it commercial.
Once it's made commercial, it doesn't go
Hey,
back.
yeah.
I mean, what's our grandfathering rule, 24 months? So if it's 2 years, so if it stays residential for 2 years, if you're within that 2-year period, something comes in commercial and then leaves and you got 2 years, our grandfathering is 2 years. So you could switch it back to residential potentially, but it has to be residential.
Is that something we should include in there to make it clear or?
Well, we got some work to do on wording of that.
Okay, we're at
Public hearing involved, and so there's quite a bit of work we got to do. This,
that point yet. Okay.
correct.
I think what I can do before when you review it at the public hearing is look at the non-conforming section of the ordinance, and we can play out some scenarios just to make sure there aren't unintended consequences as a result.
And the
But I
intent,
do think adding new would be a great idea.
and the intent later on in the meeting is to have a discussion around that and what are the words so that Dawn can put together the appropriate words for us to consider, and then there's a public hearing as a result.
So who wrote the third bullet there?
Steve did. He's the chair of the committee.
I have a lot of concerns about, I talked to the planning board in Bar Harbor about trying to manage short-term rentals. And it was absolutely a nightmare because how do you know that it's a short-term rental? How do you know if that person from Massachusetts isn't just their cousin? Is that a short-term rental? Did they pay anything? How do you know? Unless it's registered as a business and they do it as a Airbnb or something where it's actually registered with the town, you'd never know. And most of these properties aren't. You know, we know because those of us that live near Memorial Drive, we go up and down and see nobody there in the wintertime. So is that just their camp? And then every week is a different set of cars. So you're like, yeah, that's obviously some type of rental, or they have a lot of family. But how do you differentiate between the two? So it's great to have the thought of managing short-term rentals. I think it's going to be very, very challenging to enforce anything. And when you get to enforcement, if we can't enforce basic things like the zoning ordinance says X, Y, Z, and they only did Z. If we can't do that, what makes you think we could do this? So I say, why even, I'm sorry to be blunt about it, why even try? It's a great idea. I don't think it'll work. I just don't think we're going to be able to manage it and regulate it.
Were
You're
they,
talking about the third
The
bullet.
third bullet, I just think you just got to remove it. I mean, it's just,
The two we're focused on tonight, the top two.
I know, but I just said, let's not even get into that debate as my vote and just say, you're not going to be able to manage it. You know, other towns have tried, to my knowledge, pretty much all of them have had massive failure trying to regulate that. So,
we know that is difficult. And they hire companies to monitor it. There's all different things. So, I mean, we'd have to do a lot of research so the council hasn't tasked this board to address this, but I wanted to share the whole document with you because it addresses a number of things that you're looking at.
yeah.
So, and we talked about that in a staff meeting today, short-term rentals, and
So you're done with the other two bullets? You're done with the other two bullets?
Can I start?
yes, I'm sorry.
The second bullet about here, the comprehensive plan says between Town Hall Lane and Bowden Street. Don, you had mentioned it extended from Town Hall Lane to the railroad.
Right.
We actually said, just zoom in here.
That's hefty chunk of property. Street.
Hanson Street was the one that we had previously discussed to the railroad line. So it's wider by a little bit because.
We're looking at a longer street than what they were.
Correct.
And again, we'll talk about that in a few minutes in detail. You want to move on to the public hearing notice? Are you done with that set of bullets?
So for that article, we need to post a public hearing and notice it for a public hearing and then continue this discussion before you can make a motion to recommend or not recommend something to the town council for them to adopt. I'm going to suggest July 22nd, if that is what you decide to do. And I would leave the parcel area more extensive at this time because you can always bring it in after a public hearing, but if you expand it, you're going to have to renotice the whole thing. So I'd be more inclusive and then draw it in if that's, what ends up happening.
Okay, so we'll come back to that one in a few minutes. You want to look at the public hearing notice about the
Yes, I'm sorry.
July 6th?
And that would be this here that says public notice. And this is for council, town council. So on here are the items that you all have been working on that get forwarded to the council. The zoning map amendment was as a result of Boot Cove Lane, those discussions. And then the other one's parking, Route 202, chickens. And then the solar ordinance. So those links all go to the work that you have done. You've seen that exact language at your recommendations. Then the last two bullets on that public hearing notice page, the first one is there's a moratorium already in existence on residential care facilities. And Rick, I forgot this earlier when we talked. The council's going to extend it beyond the 6 months because we haven't started that work yet. But in the meantime, they also, when they amend it, this is on July 6th, they're going to allow facilities that exclusively serve residences age 65 and older. If there's a nursing home in town that's going to be reestablished as a use, and to make sure that it didn't get caught in that moratorium somehow and not allowed to move forward, they're going to explicitly state that provision. And other than that, we do have that work still to do. And the last one, ordinance establishing a moratorium on data centers, which we've talked about briefly in the past. They did decide, or they didn't decide, they're going to make a decision whether or not to adopt that moratorium, but that will be on July 6th as well. And Rick and I had some things to talk about regarding that as we move forward. So most of that is information that you already have, except for the data center really is the new piece. And again, July 6th, Monday, July 6th. So anyone who can or wants to be there, it's in person and on Zoom.
A quick question about the official zoning map. So it's just focusing on the Boot Cove Lane properties? Does that thereby establish a precedent for anybody else seeking similar evaluations of their property?
This might be a good time for an update on the zoning map.
I guess the way to answer your question, Dwight, is that this is a start, and we've got a much bigger project to do once Turner from KB Cog updates the maps for us, so we can go to work on it. We can set priority on, what body of water we want to approach or how we want to approach that. But this is our first step toward that process, trying to respond to an application.
So the intent is to go further define resource protection.
Correct.
Right. Within the next few months, I believe we had indicated we.
And Turner's Turner's in the process of developing that map for us, so we have a road map to go by. So we aren't just bungling through it.
So not just this, but we're looking at the entire zoning map.
Yeah, the entire map for the town.
Right.
Yeah.
Relative
Whole thing.
resource protection,
Not just
not Boot Cove. Go ahead.
resource protection, just
Well, the priority is resource protection.
will afford us an opportunity to chat about other avenues.
Sure.
Check.
But again, we want that map to help us do it with some kind of orderliness. But this is the first step, and with this one, we put that together and we've got it on the agenda for the 6th. So starting that process. Basically, Greg, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're trying to straighten out a conflict between the old data and the new data.
Correct. The new data says the existing resource protection map is incorrect because the new LiDAR data has shown that it is. So
So
the idea is to try to make that line more reasonable, refine it correctly. And I actually started to take a look at it. I haven't dug in very deep, but probably in an hour, I could do the entire, Lower Narrows. And I might just draw a line for you and amend.
and that might be smart to do is
Well,
tackle that first. you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
and get it done.
yeah. And that could be a good indicator of where the line is going to be drawn. And I started writing notes to myself. People don't like that, but I wrote up a methodology. So,
People don't like that.
well, they don't like me getting my engineer hat on and starting to write up how,
Who is that?
I don't know. People get a little weirded out when I write how-tos.
The famous they.
It's the infamous they. There's always somebody that's like, I don't understand.
For the record, I'm not they.
I know you're not. I know you're not. Most of this board is not. I'm just saying in general that I find that people's eyes glaze over very quickly when you start saying, here's the fundamental practice and here's all the citations to go, what do you mean?
All right, so attached to that is that information that Greg pulled together for us, for they.
Yep.
And that'll be part of the package on the 6th. I will say, relative to 6th, I'd like to have, if possible, if you can attend the council meeting, it starts at 6. Right, Don?
Yes,
6
correct.
o'clock. A lot of the agenda is ours. And so if we can show representation, Greg will be speaking to a few of these in detail, particularly the solar and this one, with some specificity. Heck, I got that right. And appreciate that. And so we want to give you a heads up on what the agenda is, what we're covering. A lot of it is ours. And we're trying to put a lot in front of them. An example I would give you also is they're discussing the moratorium, as Don said, on the residential. Let's see, got that right? Yeah, residential.
Residential
care.
care facility.
Talking about extending it. So what'd be nice is to get more feedback, like we did on the solar. We got some pretty specific feedback that helped Greg make the changes for us to review and approve and all that, to put back in front of them. So if we can get that kind of specifics from them, that would help us with what we need to do there. So
Exactly. Yep.
it doesn't make sense to go generate something that we don't know if they're going to approve or not. Our work ought to be toward doing what we think is right and then put that back in front of them, but at least know what they're thinking. So,
Yeah,
Well-
they're specifically excluding residents 65 and older. So they clearly don't want to limit that.
right.
So we do need to hear, I mean, because when you read things like moratorium on residential care facilities, you think nursing home, that's what your brain goes to, and they're specifically excluding that. So what is their focus?
Yep.
Let's define that a little better. Are they talking, after release care? Are they talking assisted living for handicap, special needs, schools? What is the, breadth of what they're looking for? So.
So do you want to go to the data center next or the Main Street?
So to that is that I'll check in with Anthony too and make sure that he can give the council a heads up that we'll be looking for feedback.
We are. We're looking for them to better define that, so to give us some guidance on what they're looking for. Going to the solar ordinance, it was a lot easier to correct it knowing what they specifically had for comments and questions.
You want to tackle Main Street first or you want to do the data center?
Steve just walked in, so maybe we do Main Street and he can give us, do you mind me calling you out, Stephen? Oh, she is.
So the intent on both of these tonight, whichever one we take first, the intent is to brainstorm, and I'll facilitate a brainstorming around the two subjects to get your input. The goal is to end up at at a public hearing relative to what I'm thinking is get their input on this as well from the public, and then for us to make a decision about what it looks like in both cases, and then we go forward from there. Does that make sense? So which one you want to tackle first?
Let's do the ground floor residential.
So what we're going to do here, White's already made one point is, okay, what's including that? The comprehensive plan had a section and we're looking at a bigger section. And your point is we can always pare it back with whatever our final ordinance is, policy. But, so I'm going to start over with Dwight. Dwight, do you understand the process? Basically, just looking for input, reaction, questions about the subject of making the ground floor of Main Street strictly commercial unless it's already residential. And as Greg mentioned, it would be grandfathered as residential. So anything you want to add, a question or?
So I'm not clear on where the language is that's addressing that, because we jumped around.
I don't, there's no particular language at this point, right?
A previous meeting.
Okay, all right. so
And
we
I
do
was
it.
reading actually Stephen's language
read it?
tonight.
You want to read it?
Stevens?
Is it big, is it long or?
I just read a little bit ago, but I'm happy to read it again. The
Okay.
zoning ordinance be amended to not allow new residential uses on the first floor of multi-story mixed-use buildings or buildings that are currently only commercial use located on Main Street between Town Hall Lane and Bowden Street. And that was where you all had wanted it a little extended. Preserving commercial space for local businesses to operate is increasingly important as efforts to revitalize the downtown take shape. So that last piece isn't, that last sentence wouldn't be part of the regulation, of course. But this is spelled out specifically referencing mixed-use buildings. And then it was Hanson
Who's
Street.
going to define mixed use?
Would be anything that's residential and commercial in one building.
Right.
Was that the question? I'm sorry, Greg.
Well, I guess, I mean, okay, yeah.
Stephen, you understand the game now?
Yes, yes.
So anything to add, a question or input? We can come back to you. You can pass or, okay, Dwight. Straightforward. You made your point, right? Greg, go ahead.
Yeah, I think just making sure we're defining mixed use, I would specifically spell out mixed use being commercial and residential, not just say mixed use. Because mixed use could be something very different to different people. What if it's a duplex? What if it's an apartment versus, people call apartments commercial, but that's really residential. If somebody's renting it out, especially if it's a multi-unit apartment building. So it'd be going back to the mill, the project we approved last time. Does that mean that applies to them? Yeah, it's mixed use. That means their first floors, but again, specifically defining it, I think it'd be important because then there's no question what we're talking about.
Include a definition in the definition section.
You can put it in the definitions, or you could just say right there, mixed use, and then put commercial and residential. Yeah, or you could put it in the definitions, either way.
Make sure it's clear.
No, as long as we're only talking about new residential, and like Don mentioned, do we want to include, I don't know, does that become too complicated if we include the 2-year grandfathering? So if it goes from residential to commercial, if it stays commercial for more than 2 years, then it stays commercial kind of forever. Do we want to put that in here? Or I think it's good to define it.
Yeah, I think.
I think that way it's very clear that, it can't go back. So new, and maybe we could just do that. Like, what does new residential mean? If it's existing residential, you can't, if it's existing commercial, you cannot go back to residential if it's been commercial for more than 2 years. That'd be a simple way to define it. If
Let me
it's
ask
been
a
commercial for
question.
2 years, you cannot go back to residential. So that would be the definition of new residential.
So let's say it's grandfathered residential and the new buyer, a buyer wants to make it commercial.
Yep.
Is that a change in use that should come to the planning board?
It will be unless it's low volume, right? There's the 3 different classifications. If it's low, it's less than 2,500 square feet. No, smaller than that. 1,200 square feet has less than 8 customers per hour. all those definitions. And remember, we have low, high, low, medium, and high. Low doesn't come to us, not in the village. Low wouldn't come to us. Anything in rural comes to us regardless if it's going commercial. But in the village, it wouldn't come to us unless it's medium or large.
And so in that
It's a
case,
little tiny place, it wouldn't come to us.
that would go to the CEO.
Yeah, just the code officer to get their permits.
Okay. And then that, the words you just talking about 2 years and
Yeah,
become
so
commercial.
defining, we could put that in the definitions, new residential. And new residential would be that, it's been used for commercial for at least 2 years. And once that happens, it can't go back.
You also,
Yes, thanks.
Don?
That's good.
I was just trying to see if it's clear that if it's residential now, is it that it's grandfathered? See that specifically in there.
there's some words that need to be added in the definition.
The non-conforming section, and I actually didn't remember this until now, Greg, under non-conforming uses, talks about expansions, resumptions prohibited. So there, you were talking about the 1 year, which the board can extend for a year, which is the 2. But there actually is a provision that shall not apply to the resumption of a use of a residential structure, provided that the structure has been used or maintained for residential purposes during the preceding 5-year period. I'm going to read this that it wouldn't lose its non-conforming status. So I think it's already 5 years.
It's already defined.
Oh, it's 5 years?
Well, that's how I'm reading it right now.
Okay,
I didn't look at this beforehand. I didn't realize that.
We can change that if you want, but
again,
right now it says 5 years.
I'd like someone to look, like the code enforcement officer or you all to look at that, and make sure it's not just my eyes, and have that unintended consequence problem.
Did we answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay. You all said, Don? Tracy?
I'm just curious where said if it had been commercial for 2 years, it wouldn't be able to go back to residential. What are your thoughts as to why? And would that be with the current property owner or anyone?
it would be anybody. I mean, the thought of this is in alignment with what the subgroup looked at and saying, we don't want to lose the storefronts downtown. And if apartments became crazy expensive, people could convert all those to residential. So, and if you lose that first floor, you can entirely lose the downtown feel where it's like, oh, residential, business, residential, business.
I've seen that. Like,
So that's exactly. So that's why that's the comprehensive plan kind of states that. And so we're trying to, that group kind of looked at it, talked about it, kind of thought about it, and that's what they came up with. And then, so we're trying to think about, okay, they've already discussed it. We don't really disagree with it. So we're going to try to enact it.
Okay.
So in order to enact it, that's what we're trying to do is capture. We don't want to get anybody that has an existing residential in a situation where they can't change it. They can't, put a new kitchen in or get a permit to build an addition on the back or whatever it is that's allowed within the codes. We just want to make sure that the existing commercial space doesn't get converted to residential. So, if Subway and US Cellular and those guys go out of business, all of a sudden those become apartments
right.
and you'd never get them back to, but this is saying you can't. Once they're commercial, they have to stay commercial. That's all.
Anything else, Tracy? Dawn?
No, I just want to make sure that before you all make a recommendation to the council, that I go through this and maybe with Mark, the nonconformity section, just to be very clear.
Well, I would think at some point you would put a set of verbiage together for us that would go to the public hearing and then we would be able to vote on it. So I've gone around go ahead, Dwight.
I didn't get to do an analysis of that yet.
Say
No,
most.
no, those are just the properties that front on Main Street and
I
that.
bet it's quite a few of them. There's a few, but most of those have the downtown ones where you have that little, the art walk and those buildings next to it, like Consolidated, the art walk, all those have second stories. Way, US Cellular, those all have some second stories. Like Parks Auto Body probably doesn't,
No,
but
no.
does it have a second story?
It does, but it's commercial.
Oh,
The offices are up there.
okay, well, yeah, the first floor is already commercial, so.
But his offices are on the second floor.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, a lot of those buildings have 2 floors, but there might be some, Like the barber shop probably doesn't. That's a pretty small, maybe it does.
Barber shop is the section by the cemetery is the business and the rest of it's a home. But he's got a mixed use.
But the barber shop, yeah, so he might have,
Got a second.
he's got a second story, it's just short.
But it's bedroom,
Okay.
living area.
Mr. Chair.
Do you have anything to add on this subject?
They have this, we were discussing your memo earlier.
Explain that last one again. Somebody, that example you give, is that somebody living in it as well, just an office? What you're saying, you want it both ways.
Yeah. Yeah.
We understand it. It becomes commercial. Doesn't go back. You don't agree with that? Okay, we understand what you're telling us, but that's not what the board is saying.
goal. It's a long-term goal, turn them up, turn them back, turn them up, turn them back. I mean, what's the long-term outlook?
A lot of our conversation so far was talking about making most of it, making it commercial other than what is currently residential. And when they turn it from residential to commercial, it stays commercial forever. That's what I'm hearing.
That's kind of the intent.
That's the intent of what we
That's-
think.
That's kind of what we were understanding, is that we were trying to get a handle on understanding that, okay, if we want to keep a downtown, we want to keep a downtown. So let's say the post office building in 1928 to 1933 was used to house people. So you're saying they can go back and make that residential? That's a very, very, very hard thing to define, just so you know.
Barber shop would be an example.
Right. It's been a barber shop for
Because
40
he-
years, but
Well, he lives on half of the bottom.
That's a mixed use. That's a
Yeah.
mixed use and that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah,
If he does away with his barber shop and now becomes a residence, that makes sense.
yeah.
But what I'm hearing this gentleman say is that if it's residential, it goes to commercial, it still has the ability to go back to residential. That's what's confusing me.
Well, what if we further refine the commercial district instead of extending it down from Bowden Street?
make it smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah, go
So
back
to
to,
exclude those two properties. Is,
Then why would you allow it to go back? I mean, what's the long-term goal? I think that's a catch-22 later on in life,
Oh,
because you don't know what's in there, whatever, no. That's all right, I won't.
I think we understand your perspective. Now, any other input? So keep in mind, we're going to do a public hearing on this. The board's going to discuss it further. So there's going to be plenty of opportunity for input. This is our first step. So
Yeah.
you'll get a few more opportunities to input in the process. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else online? Anybody online?
Sorry, you said Pat was on earlier, and I think she must have waited too long because she was no longer waiting.
Okay, so I think we've covered everybody present for input. So the intent from here is to think about having a public hearing where people have additional input, and then the board coming to some verbiage and taking a vote on it, and then moving on to the council. So do I hear a motion to go to a public hearing on this subject to get further input?
just one important point, I think, that we may want to highlight, the difference between Bowden Street and Town Hall Lane and the railroad tracks is almost double the area. So if we're going to do that in a public, we want to be very clear with what properties we're talking about.
Because I'm going to notice the property owners that are going to be included in this.
That's, I guess,
Yeah, so
that's,
it
I guess,
would
the
be-
question is I think for public input, that could be an important piece. Because if we have a lot of the houses, I would say past Bowden Street are going to be that mixed use or even a number of residential use compared to from Bowden Street up. Just the numbers, I think, wise. But I think there's definitely, you know, obviously there's banks, post office, whatever after Bowden Street. So there's a bunch of stuff. I guess the post office on the other side.
Yeah, that's,
But
yeah.
it's just trying to say that I think there's going to be very different input. So I think that's an important piece that we want to make sure to include the people. If we're going to talk about going down to the railroad tracks, make sure they're included.
So that brings up the question, should we limit it? Should we? Originally, Don said make it bigger from a public hearing standpoint, so you incorporate everything, but you can always pare it back. That's one perspective. The other one's do you start out paring it back? What do you suggest?
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I kind of agreed with Don, let's make it a little bigger, but I want to make sure to present it that it's a question we're asking the
Okay.
public. It's not something we're stating. We're saying we are talking about defining this area. None of us have really changed our upper bound. I think Dwight just kind of questioned it, do we come down a couple houses and maybe we can discuss that, but really it's, do we go to Bowden Street or do we go to the railroad tracks? And I think those are the two questions, and I think that's a question we would want to pose in the public hearing, not just saying, here's our plan. Sometimes we go forward with like, here's our plan. In this case, I think we want to ask the question
At the public hearing.
at the public hearing and try to define the area. First, we could define what we're trying to do, and then second, I think you define that area. I think if there wasn't any pushback and everybody was in agreement, I think the larger area makes sense. But if there's pushback and there's a lot of concerns from the public, I would say maybe we go with the smaller.
So could I suggest that we have the public hearing, have that input, and then the board make that decision what that range is? That agreeable?
Now, are you talking about the public hearing with the council on the 6th?
No.
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 Oh, this is public
this
hearing
would be-
here,
Here,
specifically
okay,
for this
okay.
Main Street.
July
And
22nd.
again, the intent is to get input from the public. And then we can decide where we're headed with it, what the rules are. Go ahead.
I got a question. So regarding your suggestion about notifying the affected property owners, are we going to proactively notify them of the public hearing, or are they just going to be a broadcast announcement and?
There'll be the
let them
normal,
hear
like,
about it?
online,
Mhm.
but individual property owners in this instance would receive something in the mail. The way that was picked initially was general discussion, and the board was looking at it and kind of talking about where to start and end, and it wasn't based on a specific document or something historical. I think it was really a jumping off point.
So let's start with the longer, so that everybody gets notified, and then we can pare it back from there. So let's all make sure, right?
Quick question about the longer version. Where on Main Street do we lose roadside parking heading towards the rail?
Where does it stop?
Yeah, is that before the gas station?
I'm not sure.
Public parking goes past
I'm
Carlton
curious
Mill.
if there's no roadside parking in front of a structure.
Well, there is in front of the church and Tabitha's Closet. There is roadside parking there,
Yes,
just before the gas
The
station.
barber shop.
Gas station down it ends.
You might be right.
What's that?
Yeah,
Right, so the
right
gas
by
station-
the gas station, kind of in that area.
Here's the gas station, and it looks like this.
And would DOT be involved in any of these decisions since it's a state highway?
You heard the question?
There's
Would DOT be involved?
Using anything different, the access points on the road, just the use. So, and if there is a change of use, they need to get a driveway permit, but that's going to be case by case depending what they propose.
And that's through DOT.
Yeah,
Yeah. they-
yeah. But at this point, there's nothing on the table in terms of we're going to require, a different type of curb cut or, I don't know.
So let's just repeat the beginning and ending. We're talking about road tracks to what street coming this way?
Originally, I had written down Hanson as a result of discussion, but again, there was no science behind that. It was starting discussion. And Steve, and the comprehensive plan committee referenced something specifically in the comprehensive plan. Whatever you decide, I will notify the individual property owners by.
That's what we need to decide tonight. So what street on this end are we talking about? The stats?
So Town Hall Lane, which has been referenced, is, excuse me, here, right? And then this is Hanson right across the street. So actually,
Pretty much the same
Yeah.
spot, aren't they?
yeah, actually looking at it, they are.
So, again, what are the, you're talking about the one out here?
Town Hall Lane is where you go to the police station.
Oh, okay, yep, yep,
And then Hanson Street's going the other way.
right.
So.
That's
it's-
where we'd start,
That's where we started. So it's not those other buildings going up the hill. It's from
from
there.
there.
So it's basically Clark Street and then Town Hall Lane. Clark Street's right next to the mill and it's up on the map. So you can see it's just the next.
What's the other end?
The other end is either one of two things, either the railroad tracks or Bowden Street.
What's the desire of the board? Start bigger and go smaller, or start smaller and go bigger? I got one, go bigger.
I'd say vote go bigger.
Go bigger? Okay. That way everybody gets notified. And so you're saying Roll Street?
Yeah, but the bank's on the corner. No.
So I'm hearing Roll Street to Hanson Street, right?
Yeah, we could do Hanson Town Hall Lane.
All in favor of that?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
so that's your parameters.
Chop off
Hanson
a few-
Street to Roll Street.
chop off a few-
That's who we need to notify. And now I'll entertain a motion to have a public hearing. Next meeting, Don?
The 22nd of July, we can.
By second, so a month from now then.
We'll make a motion that we have a public hearing on the Article 3.11, Table 2, land uses outside of the shoreline area to restrict ground floor residential uses in the building fronting from Hanson Street on Main Street, but from Hanson Street to Royal Street.
There a second? Dwight seconded. Discussion? All in favor?
John, did you vote?
Sorry, I was taking notes.
Stephen, did you vote?
I did not, I'm just not,
Voting on a public hearing.
you cited Article 3,
That's from that's from.
Public hearing on
that's-
defining as defined by Greg.
Right from our agenda, item 5A.
just want to make sure I'm on the same page as everybody.
Yep.
So in the zoning ordinance,
Agenda's right on the
table
first
of
page.
uses.
The very, very beginning, and we're on item 5A. So I just said we're having a public hearing on 5A.
Okay.
And I just cited enough of it for the record to be, that's defining it, but we also set the limit.
I see,
from
yeah, you're
Hanson Street to Royal Street. Yeah.
we're
basically
still in
just-
here on
Yeah, that's the
Tab.
actual, that's the
bullet
actual
number
write-up.
3 there. Okay,
Are you for it?
yes.
Yep, so it's unanimous.
So we'll invite the
you.
public for.
I appreciate you doing that. Before you vote, get clarification. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I think it probably is a good idea for the people to understand why we're doing what we're doing. Because if you don't say why you're doing it, I think that kind of sets up, what are you doing this to me for? What are you doing this? I think that could set up something like that. And if we're going to do it, I believe we should do it and do it, not say, oh, well, you can do it, but then you can turn it back. I think that's saying, I don't know what I want. I think we need a clear picture of our future that we're looking at and why we are. And I think when you express the good things that we're looking at, you're going to get more positive, get better reception from the people.
I think it's real simple. We're talking about, we know what streets are what street. And we know what we're talking about is maintaining commercial, maintaining residential, and an input from the public on an ordinance relative to that. And so, as Betty says, so it isn't, we're about to change your residence into a commercial. So it's clear.
Yeah.
And then we welcome their input on that process for us to make that ordinance.
So what I'm hearing Betty say and what sounds like people would support is just a few sentences, a little background information as
In the
opposed to.
public notice, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
This isn't a generic public notice. This is kind of a weird one. So give them a little bit of background. It's not like, oh, your neighbor wants to put up solar panels and you have to ordinance, to notify them. This is very different.
It's pretty straightforward, actually. I mean,
I think so, but I think like Betty said, it's not bad to say,
Why
that,
not?
hey, we kind of have some extra background. Here's what's going on.
Mhm.
Here's what this is about. So
Positive note. Well,
I think,
it'd be good.
yeah, because it's,
the explanation is,
I think it's negative.
I mean, it's real simple. We want to maintain our commercial availability in downtown. So
right, I think but I think it's not a bad idea to reference the comp plan committee and say, we had a group of citizens form a comp plan committee. This was one of their recommendations, which was to try to maintain downtown, maintain residential businesses downtown. A way to do that is this ordinance, and you're being notified because you're in this area, you're a property owner in this area. So,
Oh, that was the main downtown center.
Just saying that was a.
Okay, we're all set with that
I
one?
understand that.
Want to move on?
yeah, the public notice.
We'll move on to,
The shoreline zoning ordinance not ready though?
No, I don't have the changes to that, and I hadn't talked to Colin either about, he references 2 map locations, but there was only 1 mapped. So that's ongoing.
you want to show us the maps?
So what I've been playing
An
around.
update on the mapping of the zones and lots
Digital
and,
map, yep.
So this is the parcel viewer that's currently online. You can go to the code enforcement department, you can go to the assessing department.
No.
And it's the parcel viewer. So some more things have been added since our last meeting as a result of meeting with KB Cog, who is doing the mapping for us. Turner is the person who's doing it now. Previously, you guys worked with Joel, and he came to a bunch of meetings, so you may remember him. So what Turner has done so far is he broke out some of the zoning layers so that you can turn them on and off. So, and he's breaking out more, we were just talking about resource protection. So resource protection district. Here.
We do this now when we go on there?
Yep, this is live, just anyone can go on there. Oh, you know what? You have to click on the side to get the,
You have to hit the layer button.
yeah. So in this little
What
eye,
browser are you using? What are you up in right now? You got Edge?
I think I'm on Chrome. We're going to talk about the data
You
center.
are on Chrome. Yeah, you might have to use Chrome. Yeah, sometimes they're different. They vary depending on the browsers. Chrome and Edge, so Microsoft or Google. Yeah, I know. You want the little 3-colored guy.
Where'd she click to get the side thing here?
It's right up in the upper left. See the little, looks like layers, kind of like a cake
oh, yeah.
off to the left, below the,
Back out again.
yeah.
So you can expand it and.
No, but you want to click on the green bar, show Don.
Oh, I'm
the
sorry.
Green bar, yep. That's where, see, it goes away. Because if you click on the map, all the buttons, you're like, wait a minute, where's that button? So,
So can you take that?
Here's the, go back out, is that what you said? And here's the key over here, the colors. So we've talked about, some of the things that were corrected was we had resource protection without the shoreland under it and
Yeah.
the water protection. So that's being corrected. So if you go to, yep,
This is down on one arrow.
so this is it right here. Boot. So the blue is resource protection. So if I turn off, I'm sorry, the blue is public water.
yeah, you have to shut public water off.
So if we turn that off, see that is, it's
Yep.
it's an overlay. and this is one of the things that was recently changed so that you can click on and off as opposed to one. So there's, yep.
Yeah, it's right there on that side going up. It's that orange, yellow. Right.
Yeah, 5,
What? It's 5 or 6 parcels. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Grade of the land.
Yeah. If it's over 20%, it's defined as, has to be defined as resource protection. Anything steeper than 20%.
More like.
It basically doesn't offer protection to the lake, is when it's that steep, anything that lands goes directly into the lake.
So if you turn your. Right there.
The other one that's color coded,
The next one,
Oh,
the real bright one.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's the yellow and red.
yep.
yeah.
The real steep slope in the yellow is
Yep.
level and some's less than 20 degrees.
Well, and you can even see it when you look at it. You see how it only goes up halfway up the road and then it turns to green and it goes away. You look at the map, the red goes all the way up to the corner and around.
Oh,
And you're like, wait a minute, why does it stop?
If you walk
So-
out there, there's an area of 100 feet back. That's flat.
That, yeah, yep. Right. And it's important because we don't allow building in resource protection to 250 feet from the water body. So that means several of those properties would be very difficult to build on. You're building way, way, way back, where shoreline zoning, you're allowed to build 100 feet back. So that's really where it defines, the definition makes a big difference.
So
But
once
that's,
we make,
it was drawn on topo maps. That's why they're wrong, is they were drawn on topo maps, and you'll see the width is exactly the same.
yes.
That was just a simplification. They're like, oh, the contour lines are pretty tight here, let's draw it. They didn't have good topographic information to be able to draw those lines. Now the products are just easy to read.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to further expand that. So Turner's the KV cog person, and I apologize to you two, I haven't given you the outline of that meeting, but he's going to break down, so the Resource Protection District involves slopes is one of them, and then there's high value habitat. There's a number of pieces, and so he's going to break it down so that under the resource protection over on the left, there's the different elements within. You can turn on and off. Is it steep slopes? Is it, what makes this resource protection? So that's a piece of what we're working for. The map user-friendly, able to go to the council, but
just update the 2 new members about what, 3 years ago, Don, 4 years ago, somewhere in it, 3 to 4 years ago, you and I, we were tasked as a planning board members to work with KV Cog representative, but previous was Joel, now it's Turner. KV Cog is a Kenneck Valley, and they help us with these kind of things. So they helped us convert our hard copy maps to digital maps. So it's quite a process to get where we are right here. And there's more stuff to fix, so. But it started with hard copy maps that we had for years that's in Mark Arsenal's office that he uses to determine zones. And we're trying to digitize it so the average person has it available for them to go look at their property and determine where they're zoned and if indeed there's an issue. And some of this is going to flush out when reevaluation is done in the new calendar year, because people are going to say, I don't see why I'm zoned this way. So we're trying to get ahead of that. And this is kind of some work. So go ahead, Don, and finish the layers.
Just ask a question. I zoomed in on some of these properties, like the Legion and the beach and all, and Here's that the parcel lines are shifted.
They are, so it's not survey quality. So originally they digitized these from those paper maps.
Yeah.
So it's not from a survey. So it's laid over, so these, let me just zoom into that property.
But makes it a little hard to use it.
So when you look at the paper maps, the background is gray or blue depending on the map, but now you've laid it over an aerial view. So you're looking at the shoreline relative to the line. But that's not an actual indicator of the property line. It gives you a general sense, but you couldn't say that's exactly where the property line is. Yeah,
Right, but look at right above it, Don, where the water goes out about 50 feet into the water. And that's the shoreline. And then all of a sudden the land pokes out. So it's the line, it's just not drawn right.
yep.
Measuring tool,
August.
right.
That will be fixed, is what you're saying.
No,
Won't be.
Was-
It's the edge, yeah. So it's 75
oh yeah, that's right, it was,
to 80 feet.
Do you do that if property lines are wrong?
so,
You want to measure, let's say you want to measure.
You off the aerial.
Yeah, measure from the actual building.
That's what I did. Building.
Yeah, you got to be
98
careful using the side
98
setbacks and
you,
well, but the other problem is, but then it's even worse than that because that's the road right away. That actually could be the property line. Because they could build the road anywhere in that right of way. And 202 has like a 200-foot right of way.
Just makes
I
it
don't know how this works
difficult,
downtown, but
you know.
yeah, right.
Somebody they want a permit to do something.
Right.
Be nice to be able to use this to measure these distances. I guess we can. Yeah.
well, so you can use this, you've said, oh, we need a plan that shows us this information, here's the pieces, and it doesn't have to be a survey, but it has to be to scale. So that's going to be, this would be a tool that they could use for that. And it's not going to be exact. And if you want an exact location, if there's a tight site or, obviously if there's a lot of elevation. Yep. It's just laid over and rubber sheeted because they all came from. Should be, correct.
Legion.
So,
Sure.
just say-
But for a lot of the sites that you look at, it's enough for some of the properties that, between the water and the building, if you're not. I can.
Basically,
They're accurate in places. They're not everywhere. Long places, they're not that bad. You'd have to be careful.
Did you actually measure that? How did you actually measure it with Leica? Okay,
you can't really do it from there, Rick.
You're saying there's no. Yeah,
So the recent changes allow you to turn some of the layers on and off to better, so it was all just one before. You couldn't break it down. So that's been done. Also, we're in the process of working with a different consultant, the one who actually did the tax maps. Is doing that build-out analysis for us. So as a result of that, we're going to have water and sewer line locations, and we're going to have the growth area and the comprehensive plan will be a layer in this map as well. So those over on the left-hand side will be things that you can view on, turn it on and off.
Is this map available?
Townwood.
Yep. Yep, it's .gov, it's winthrop.maine.gov, and then I, in this instance, went to departments, code enforcement, and then here's code enforcement. And on the left-hand side, down the bottom, web map viewer. And there is a disclaimer. There it is. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Here. Is that what you're talking about? Oh, no, you're talking about the zones. Okay. So you can decide what you're going to look at. Yeah.
If you click on them,
Yep, so now this is tied, and this is updated, gentlemen, because before, remember, we were working with Turner. So when you click on this, yeah. Yeah. The red roof, right? So I just click on the property itself and it highlighted it. And then I can't recall if, yep. It's interesting, there's no book and page, because usually there's a deed reference here, and you all should pull up your own properties and make sure the information is correct. Mhm. And you all just brought it one step closer recently with Turner, breaking those out. I think it's a lot more user-friendly.
Able to scroll down and say, what have they had for actions at this property? How about that, Dawn?
Big brother's
Well,
watching you.
Here you can actually, this is something I had on the agenda, because at the last meeting, you had 6 locations. You said, well, we're concerned with violations here. So Taylor, who's the new administrative person for codes and planning, she entered those into, so you can, this is linked from the code page as well. And you can submit for a violation, look to see the status of one or report one, as well as the same location, you can apply for a building permit or what have you. So I did submit complaint name. And this is all available to the public as well.
Just for the new members, these were things we found on site walks. So sometimes if there's a property where they're building something new, we'll schedule a site visit. Sometimes pictures just don't do it justice. We schedule a site visit. It actually counts as a public meeting. So we can't talk about whether we would approve it or not, or anything like that. We just talk about, they're gonna explain, the property owner has to agree to it, and somebody from the public can come as well, and they're just gonna explain it to us. But these were things we noticed on existing and nearby properties as the planning board, and we're kind of like, we probably should note these somehow, not just as individuals, but as the planning board. When we see the neighbor as a violation.
So I noticed that some of the information isn't in here. So these are the 6 that got put into the system. So it was submitted online, and I emailed Mark earlier today and asked him for a status update on these because I didn't see any information in there. I can't give you a report. And this is from the public view, actually. So when I look at it on my computer, I see more information than you see here. So I don't have an update on what activity has occurred on these properties, but they are in the system, and I will follow up with Mark again.
This represents our list we went through last.
So I went, yep, I searched by
Planning. Right?
complaint name, you complainers, the complainant name, and put in planning, and it came up planning board. So these are the 6. And I forgot that, yeah, you can't see what I can see here.
What do we?
This is, if you go to, let me back out a little bit. So this is, if you go to code enforcement page under departments, and on the left-hand side, submit or find a complaint. And then you can go, so this zoning map is the PDF. This is what was being used. And actually, this is the certified PDF right here. But now when you, I'm sorry? Yes, yep. But now when you go to the parcel viewer, that should be a reflection of this because the data,
Was transferred from here.
yes, yes.
You all get a sense of how complicated? Get,
It's a great tool. So this is in the code department, so you can see, you can go and look, see what the status of a complaint is. And in this instance, you can't see what I can see, so I'm not sure. I'll have to follow up on that to see.
work to do on that.
Yeah, but they're in there. Those are in there. So this is a good test of how the system works. Myself, Mark, Taylor's the new administrative person, the town manager, and I think the town clerk. Maybe the associate clerks as well, because they will go in like to pay fees and, different in the permitting system. I specifically put that in because we had that discussion. If you want to submit, do you have to put a name?
You got to fill out the lines, but that doesn't mean it's going to check. It's going to flag it if it's empty. Say Anona Bus, your name.
Yeah, it says you have to
But
put
I'm saying
something
if
in
you
there.
put Anona and Mus, and then you put a
Smith.
Bumblebee Lane, sure I'm sure it would enter it. I mean, just something that doesn't exist. I'm sure it'll let.
Probably exists in Winthrop, doesn't it? Bumblebee
Well, you
Lane,
gotta-
yeah.
No, you can always do that. That's how you trick the system anytime.
So if you see something, this is where you can go to report it. And then the place where you can see the status, I need to follow up on because it's not clear why you're not seeing information there.
Any questions on any of this? All this?
Oh, no, it's perfectly.
It's a work in progress, but we've come a long ways.
Don't put my information in there, Dwight.
That's fine. Put me in. It's all good.
Is there some obligation to get?
As far as a policy, I think practically speaking, I would assume, but I don't know if there's a policy I can find out.
Well, if you're entering into the database, you can go on there and see what's going on. Mark's supposed to do that, and Dawn's going to put her information.
But like she said, she could see a lot more than we can.
Yeah.
And we can't see the status
Right,
there.
but eventually we
So
will.
unless it was, maybe it's closed and then it would
Yeah.
show up as something else.
Right.
But otherwise, we probably would have to call one of them that have access and say,
Well,
what's the status?
Unless we get access to that at some point.
Potentially. I don't know if there's,
Feedback.
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah.
Could be in there eventually, but it's not now, I can tell you that.
So what I'm,
Okay.
is the question is it just updated and you have to check back, or is there an expectation someone's going to follow up with you directly? Okay,
Right now, if I'm.
I don't know the answer. I have written it down. I don't know the answer, but I'll find out. If there isn't a policy, they may want to make one. I'm not sure what that looks like right now.
Anything else on the map and,
And I would suggest, please go on and muck around as much as you think of, have time for, because if there are problems with it, would be nice to know now.
Don and I went on and Don got a immediate email back saying the property lines are going into the water. Yeah.
Guess you need to start mowing.
We have a new high water mark.
So when you have subdivision applications, you can ask the applicant, the engineer to submit the data as part of the documentation. So you record the survey plan, but you can also provide the data to the mapping entity and update the map. So eventually, maybe the whole town would be survey quality mapping, but those particular parcels would be because you would get the information from a survey. So you catch as catch can with that data.
Any other questions on the mapping? I mean, it's a work in progress and we're gonna have to learn and evolve but we've come quite a ways from 3 years ago. Dawn, what else you want to cover next?
Let me just check my list here real quick.
You want to do data center?
Data center, yep, I think that was the,
On the same lines, we're in our infancies on any kind of ordinance or policy on data centers in Winthrop, Maine. So again, I'd like to go around the room, get any questions or input or reactions or whatever. What we're trying to sense is what are the concerns and, what is it we need to do going forward to be able to get to where we have some kind of ordinance, because there's a moratorium.
the hearing from the moratorium is on the 6th as well. All of these items really pretty much we're talking about this evening. So it's a good opportunity for when they take action, like you did with the solar, to get specific.
And we'd like, again, get their input and what they're concerned about. But at the same time, I'd like to have this board's, their concerns. So we're kind of on the same page or getting to the same page.
Yep.
I'm gonna start over here. Stephen?
I just want to make sure I can.
And again, this is a brainstorming, so I don't need a huge debate about it, but concerns you have or information you have.
I guess, my most concrete concern is about the environmental impact and also aesthetic impact to the community. I got a personal objection to the way the data is, data privacy and what their purpose for. That's what I'm.
Okay, Dwight?
What is the threat? Second bullet, whereas the town of Winthrop is under threat of increased development. So do we have any potential applications for us?
No,
There is no threat.
we're trying to get ahead of
Would
it.
be if we were to approve one.
There is
That's-
no threat.
That's what we were faced with the solar ordinance. So we had applications roll into the system, and before we had any plan, any guidance, any ordinance, and they could show up with just about anything. And if they followed our rules, we couldn't say no.
Two great examples in recent past is a mineral, a gravel pit. We had no ordinance and a lot of concern. And so we took quite a bit of time to develop an ordinance around that. And then the demand didn't exist or didn't go further. The other one is the solar. We had solar units, solar farms going in before we had an ordinance. Again, we're now revising that. So this would be in the same vein, basically.
We haven't had a threat.
Correct.
In the state,
And
there have
The
been,
residents of the town of Winthrop, do we have a specific group that has expressed concern?
I don't think so. No, it's more of a state level than,
So this is more of a town council.
this is for the town council to adopt.
They've asked us to do this, right? So there was no
They're
threat.
asking
There
you
was no
to-
threat. The town council has basically said, we want you guys to develop a moratorium.
No, I'm sorry. They want you to develop an ordinance. They're going to say moratorium on these types of uses. No one can.
To create an ordinance.
So the planning board creates some regulations that they would then adopt.
I just think those two whereas, we got to refine those to make them more specific. You know, there is no threat. You can completely remove that and the document still edit ruthlessly.
But there is a threat.
Then we don't have a threat though.
We do have, we would have a threat.
We have no application, I guess is the threat you're talking about.
But the problem is, once the application's in, we've been told by the lawyer, we can't go retroactive. So it means, so the threat is, you could call it, it's happened in Maine and it's imminent out there. That's not as
Change
specific.
the terminology, right?
We change it to potential threat?
That would be,
Well, you can say that.
How about we say
if you want to
potential
conflict
application?
Attorney and
That's what it
you
is.
said there are certain requirements.
Anticipated or,
Lightning the threat.
Okay, Dwight, did you finish? Are you all set? Greg?
I think the two questions we have about data centers in our work in the solar ordinance, number one is the power consumption. That's a concern. What the state of Maine and CMP have told us directly is that as long as the capacity exists, they can use all of it. Which means that if they put one of these data centers in an area, they max out the capacity for that power usage. That means development, anybody that develops beyond that would have to be subject to paying the increase. That's kind of nuts, but that's the way the state does it. That's the way the PUC regulates it, is our understanding. So
We have
that
no
is-
authority to.
we have no authority to change that, so we want to make sure there's power capacity if they're putting one of these in. And I know Winthrop is specifically an area under threat because of our interconnection from Augusta to Lewiston. We are the power corridor. We do run a lot of power of interconnection between those two areas. So that's why we've been under so much pressure for solar when they had the credits. Because it's a very easy spot because there was a lot of capacity on those lines and it's a very short distance to get to 202, which runs through the middle of Winthrop. So it was very easy to connect to high capacity. So I think power is probably number one. Number two is the environmental impact, specifically groundwater, surface water, and wastewater discharge. You know, people talk about heating water not being a threat. That's an absolute threat. But by warming water, you create a limit on the dissolved oxygen, you create different mineral extractions, you create fish habitat, you change the habitat for macroinvertebrates and food sources for fish. You change everything by converting it. Once you pull it out of the ground, Maine DEP defines that now as wastewater. So we have to follow the state guidance, but I think we also want to be paying attention. We have a lot of streams and a lot of rivers, and they could say, oh, we're pulling that water out and we're dumping it right back in for cooling. No, you can't do that, but are they doing that? Yes, they're doing that in other areas of the country, which is a violation of the Clean Water Act. I don't want to get into that. That's what they're doing because they don't have those strict kind of adherences in place. Or how are they going to be doing their wastewater management? Because really, once they've used it for cooling, it is wastewater, right? They've run it through heat sinks, didn't get any chemical change to it, but they've made that water a lot warmer by dumping it into the river. It changes. And people say, oh, well, during the winter, probably not going to change anything. During the summer, massive change. You could kill all of the fish that are in the river or stream that you're pulling it out of by discharging hot, basically heated water. And they're going to be doing this 24/7, not just during the winter or during different seasons. So that's something we could potentially address as well. So those are just, I think it'd be great to get the town council's thoughts on this, but just to air some of the major concerns with these, I think our ordinance basically makes it pretty clear that they have to come to us, our existing ordinance, because it's going to be a medium or large commercial based on my reading of our ordinance. That's just me. So if they said, oh, no, it's small, that would be different, but I think it's going to be moderate, medium or high, and that means they have to come to the planning board regardless of what zone they're in if they're doing commercial, and they would have to come to us. And then we have our 14 points, which is groundwater, surface water. We have a lot of environmental protections that we can build into that, so we can ask those exact questions. The only one that's not in there is the power consumption. And protection for future development is not in there. It does say affecting the neighbors, so I guess we could stretch it to that. But that would be my only concern, is that we don't have any way to define if there's additional growth needed and they're going to be using up the power. So again, that's just a concern from our work on the solar ordinance, that we kind of realized that these commercial entities that use a lot of power, and the solar uses and generates, but if they're using all the line capacity, they're using all the line capacity or a substation capacity to store power, and that's it. And then CMP has to go and build that, but basically they won't let you get a new permit if you're at capacity. So, and you end up paying for it. So anyways,
So
I think those are the two big things.
the three I have, and some of them are repeating, but I'm looking at it from a different angle. I look at data centers. Yes, they need cooling water, and they need energy in form of electricity. Our ordinances should be looking at an application that helps us understand power generation and/or are they a net power generator, where they're putting power back on the grid, not taking it off the grid. Two is the water source, the treatment from the standpoint of, the main issue is temperature. Are they cooling it? Is it a closed loop system? Those kind of things I would want to know on an application, how they're designing and managing that. The third one is noise. They tend to generate a low frequency noise. How are you managing that noise? So those are three main things that I would be concerned about, and seeing a plan that isolates that facility from impact on our community. Betty?
Gee, these guys are really. The place that likes. They're not friendly people, I guess. AI is running.
Well, for what it's worth, AI is coming. Quantum processing is coming, and it's a matter of what shape it's going to be and how it impacts us. Don?
Yeah, I guess my big concern would be the power that they use, the energy they use, and how that's going to affect the rest of us. I know the PUC regulates rate increases, but they don't do a very good job. And supply and demand comes in, they're going to go up and we're going to pay it.
I had a friend who generated the request for the PUC for CMP many years ago. And once he got his rate increase, his next job was to go to work on the next.
Yeah.
All said, Don?
Well, yeah, I guess, but something else I was going to say, and you interrupted me. No, I'm also concerned about the use of our water to cool these things, and I understand they take a lot, so, nuclear plants use cooling towers. And.
I'm sorry?
Something other than.
Could you lean into your mic?
I was just reading the other day. My turn.
Yeah, if you could just lean in.
Reading the other day where there were these in, and some company had been install a small nuclear generating station.
Yeah, some
Specific-
technology is going to evolve out of this.
Then any excess.
Don and I come from an industry that the particular plant was a net generator of electricity. It put power on the grid with this generation for many years. And that was in the pulp and paper business. And that was one in J. And then they converted one of the machines and then became a negative generator. They had to buy more CMP than they made. So it goes both ways.
Yep, I'm done.
My concerns match Greg and Stephen greatly. And then with what you had said as well, Betty, is really hearing a general negative, seeing this in a negative light. Personal opinion, I do as well. And I think that, we might be seeing it put forward, like this is our intention of what these data centers will be and will do. And I think there's a huge chance of that changing and going in a direction that we don't want it to. I also don't want to see that we overlook the, how do I put this? The frequencies, and this is not my area of expertise at all, but I'm looking at like, we're gonna be having different antennas on top of the buildings, towers and things like that. And, you know, when we're looking at an environmental standpoint, we also need to look at the health and well-being of living things around, including people, as well as vegetation, animals, and things like that. I don't think that it's something that we should overlook. There's definitely a lot more research to be done.
All set. Dawn? Got some copious notes there, or?
Copious notes, I just want to make a note that KP Cog is working on a draft ordinance for communities to use as a jumping off point. That's in process and following legislation. And you and I had talked previously about having someone come and do presentation to the planning board at some point, if that was something, like you had DEP come when you were talking about mineral extraction. So, you know, as this moves along, you may identify someone that would come and give you a
Yeah,
presentation.
one other thing we've talked about a couple of different times that we didn't really talk about for this one, but I think it could be important, is taxing. You know, solar is set by the state. A data center's been set by the state. You know, solar incredibly cheap. The cheapest land you can have is solar farms. That was set by the state. So we can't change that. But what do you tax a data center as? There's not regular employees there. It's a machine. It just works on its own. What is the taxation on it? I mean, it's very different from, I think about like a Verizon, you know, switch station that they use for phone systems, where it's a lot of space because they have a lot of conductor wires matched and paired and different systems installed. But a true data center, what would they tax that at? And should we be thinking about that as, you know, if we've talked about a lot of the negatives, but one of the possible positives would be taxation. So, you know, is that going to be set by the state, or is that something we could potentially put in our ordinance?
The other thing is TIFs.
Just something to ask about.
Part of that you're talking about is TIFs as well.
Yeah, exactly. There's the whole range of, you know, monitoring long-term, medium-term, and, you know, even the way we do solar when it has to do remediation. You know, if somebody builds one of these data centers, you know, our office in Augusta, when they got rehabbed, it was the old state lottery. The entire building was covered in wires, lots of cables, raised floor, and a halon system. Any idea how expensive getting rid of a halon system is? You know, that's really, really pricey. So if they have things in this, making sure that we have, just like solar, the town holds a grant to make sure that we can remediate that building when
That's a good
it's not going to be used.
It's a huge solar farm, isn't it?
Yeah, it basically is a condensed solar farm that has everything a solar farm is, but a little tiny space. All kinds of nasties all in one spot.
Okay, yes.
Just popped in. Tiny spark happened at the status center. I think our fire department is equipped at all. to
That's
take
good.
care.
The fire prevention plan, yes.
We have seen in Maine, a whole lot of these electrical vehicles catching fire. And there's different things that they've said, you know, depending on size, it's this many hours that it would have to be submerged fully in water. Different places coming up with these tanks that they put them in, and all kinds of strange things. I just can't see safety wise if there's a problem there. Would be equipped to
That's another point, is fire protection, fire prevention, control. Okay, Don, do you have enough input? I think now we're prepared to go to the meeting with the council and get their input on their concerns.
One question, is this something you want to provide to the council?
Absolutely. I don't know why
I
not.
think so. I think these
I-
are our discussion concerns, and have them, you know, they may not be concerned about half of these things. But if they are, you know, we're going to draft an ordinance. We want to know what their concerns are and make sure we hit the nail on the head and not go out in left field.
I would header it as a brainstorming session by the planning board, preliminary brainstorming session by the planning board, and concerns and questions and feedback. And they use it as a list of things that they may share the same concerns, and or have answers and direction on how we go forward with an ordinance. as usual, it's one of those things that we can't say no to, but we want to have an ordinance in place that helps us control it. Is that the right word? Control it? Okay. Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry. You.
Companies. Yeah, Amazon Cloud Hosting has millions of them now.
Just,
Amazon? I mean, they have a cloud hosting service, so we can buy, you can basically go online and buy a machine. You don't need a computer anymore. You just need a web browser, and you can buy as much CPU time as you want. And it'll run as fast as you want. We run high-end models, computational models, all kinds of different things. You can have AI bots that run for you, do all your shopping, I mean, it's really scary, but you can buy whatever you want.
the little thought is could people buy these that have not such good, ideas of what they're.
Absolutely. There's plenty of that happening.
I mean, there's quite an international competition going on
Yeah.
relative to who's going to be in control of this process we're talking.
I just want to point out that the memo that you received that went to the council from the comprehensive plan committee, Steve just mentioned their recommendation. It's in that. It's one of the bullet points in that
Yep.
memo.
Okay, so we're all set with that one? And we'll get the input from the council, and then we'll go from there in terms of the work we do on it relative to developing an ordinance. Is that agreeable? Next subject, we're at quarter of. What's the deal? We don't start a subject we can't finish
We can't start anything after 9.
after 9. Okay,
If we are on a topic and we get to 9:30, we stop.
thank you, Greg.
I have really a statement to make, not a topic or question. So we have what you're talking about tonight, but we still have to do the state requirements around density.
Yeah.
There's the whole Fix-It bill. So we have that is due in 2017, but we don't want to wait till the last minute. Now we have this moratorium on, we sold the residential care facility and now the data center. So we have this list of things from the comprehensive plan that we wanted to work on, but they've gotten really kind of pushed aside. So I'll update that schedule and see.
Well, again, remind us what we're pushing aside.
Sorry?
Remind us what we're pushing aside.
So I'm going to update the schedule that you made. because I would like some feedback on that, as how you want to take this. So bear with me one moment, I'll tell you. Well, one of the ones that was from the comp plan, but actually coincides with the state requirements, and we had talked about this, was land use. Priority number 3, consider allowing more dense development through zoning techniques in locations within walking distance of town amenities in the village, support inclusion of downtown sidewalk improvements and extensions in the capital improvement plan. So that's more broad than what the state is asking you to look at, but it's part of that conversation. So we have to focus on what the state's requiring, but we have to get all this other stuff too done. We should be having that conversation at the same time, and we have some deadlines. So what, I'll update this table that you guys have been using, because that's one, there was 3. And then, maybe we can brainstorm about how to approach it. Because stuff keeps getting added.
Well, we also had the subdivision ordinance, but that doesn't make any sense to touch until the state, because like you said, it's the number of properties. They've already changed it on us. So we don't want to define that until we get the new state piece in.
Yep, they're looking.
But we got to get rid of the nitrogen plan, and there's a few things, it's from the 1980s. It's just very, very outdated. We want to address.
I handed that out to you guys this evening. It's typed. You can see that it was actually.
It's very old.
Ordinance.
So 2 of the items, the moratorium of residential care facilities, again, we're taking up with the council's taking up again on the 6th.
So they're going to
We
extend.
hope to get more
6.
feedback on
Yes.
specifically what they want. That sounds like a priority. And the moratorium on data centers, again, it's very active, and may get applications, we don't know. So that's a fairly high priority. So what's the next 2 that's equal or near those 2
We
priorities?
don't have them on this table. I don't have the full table here, but I will have that outlined for you for the next meeting. And the public,
Density is one of them.
yes, the one
Density
I
is one
read
of them.
was one of the 3.
We've got to keep that on the list. That's 3 things.
Zoning map?
In the zoning maps, yes, exactly. Good point. So that's 4 right there. Are those all pretty high priority in your mind?
Well, there were 3 that are from the comprehensive plan that you identified, and I don't recall the other 2 right now, but I'm going to update this table and ask you to look at the calendar with me and,
I mean, for
make
what it's
sure that we're
worth,
not-
we've done a significant job on all these priorities in the last 6 months that I happen to think that we have the power and the process to go forward with fixing these things as well. So I think, my opinion, I think we're in good position.
So it's just the ones with deadlines. We want to make sure that
State.
ones that you have, that you've identified as important in getting them,
And that's the 497 and the
yeah.
1254, and
And then more
let's
recently.
keep those on the list. And
Yep. And the
And
public
for-
drinking water district, more recently, there's been a lot of conversation about that.
now we had a brainstorming session a year or so ago where we did a Delphi narrowing, where we each put down our priorities relative to that list.
Those are the
And-
ones I'm trying to recall.
That's the one she was trying to find the list,
Right.
is our
And-
priorities. But
And we've tackled and done a lot of those.
at least sideways, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Some of
so
them were forced, well, some of them were kind of forced into it because of other discussion points, but
I guess obviously
got
we want to
there.
make sure there's, the things there's deadlines on, we get done. But,
yeah.
and the solar change, that was one of them. In fact, I think we avoided another moratorium, if indeed they approve it.
If they approve it, yeah.
That was a 6-month moratorium. They were going to extend it another 6 months, and we put in front of them what those changes are. So hopefully they accept it as a moratorium, doesn't have to be extended. That makes sense. Okay, so I think it's appropriate the next meeting that we have that list of what those items are.
Yep.
And then we all agree that these are our priorities. I'd keep it as 6. And we just named off 4, right?
Yeah.
That right off the top of our head, we named off 4. So there's got to be 2 more, and maybe it's the 2 you're talking about.
I believe it is.
So let's make that list, and then the board determine what they want to do at the next meeting. Do we want to do another Delphi narrowing and brainstorming and going from there? So
I'll include the deadlines for them. I mean, some of it's just going to be a result of that, right? But
we started brainstorming on 2 of them already tonight, so
Also, just want to know for the next meeting, there's potentially 2 shoreline applications, and the code enforcement officer is going to come whenever there's a shoreline application on the agenda moving forward. So Mark will be
Understand
here.
what you just said. Are there applications for the next meeting?
2 applications came in, the deadline, and so we're reviewing them for completeness, and as long as they're substantially complete, we'll send out the notices. And
All
then,
right, before you leave that, remind me, did the board aware of the letter we sent out or I sent out relative to Blackberry Lane? Did we,
no,
we didn't inform the board?
no,
Okay, so Blackberry Lane, that's the one we went and walked through last fall. It was cold, I know.
Yeah, it was really cold, yeah.
And is relative to moving a property back to put it on a foundation. And we sent out they've been asking to be on the agenda and the application wasn't complete. We wanted a study of, one of the items we wanted was a study of the existing septic drainage system. And we didn't get it. Dawn didn't get it. We haven't got it. And so I sent a letter out saying, basically, we need to have that before you go on the agenda. And Dawn and I work diligently on making the agenda, so we're as efficient as we can be. So I didn't let it on the agenda.
and then nothing,
You
no
haven't heard back.
communication from them, at least to myself.
That's where that
and
one
our
stands.
manager.
So that's not a possible application now.
Not at this time.
Well, what are the ones you're looking at for?
23 North Upper Narrows.
New one?
So 2 new ones, but we don't have a site visit or site walk planned?
You've done a site walk on one of them.
Oh, okay.
I apologize, I'm not prepared. It's south up, I'm not going to say Upper Narrows. I don't remember if it's north or south, but it's 23. And you did a site visit on it because he was trying to get a surveyor to do the work for him. And he couldn't get one. Everyone was busy and they wanted to move forward. So you guys did a site visit and had a discussion with him to see what kind of level of information you would need if he needed the survey. And so you communicated with him and now he submitted information he believes meets the standard that you all talked
Okay.
about to him.
And we did walk that one, or we
You
did?
did walk that
did walk
one.
that.
Yep.
Electrical contractor, I think.
Really steep property and he had the crazy driveway. And he was
Next
moving
one.
off the side, yeah.
104 Memorial Drive. Someone who's buying the property, the application, apologize one moment. He wants to put a foundation underneath it and it would have the whole discussion of moving it back to the greatest practical extent.
Yeah, that's a definite site walk for that one,
So I'll go ahead and schedule a site walk
Yes.
for that.
That'd be for the next,
unless they decline. I mean, we propose it to them.
we want to do it.
Well, we want to do it, but I mean, the homeowner can say no. We went over that. We discussed that. If they say no, we're not letting you on. They don't have to, but they have to convince us that otherwise.
I think they'll be open to that. Do you want to schedule 6:30? What time would you like to do that?
6.
6?
Well, if it's right on Memorial Drive, we could probably we're only doing 1. We could do it a little bit later, like 6:20, if you want to give yourself a little time.
Is that the one they already tore down?
If it's what, 100 and something?
No, this is not that one.
Oh,
Was that the one that they wanted to put the Class A up on the side of the hill? Was that Paul?
That's not this one. No, I haven't heard from them.
Is it the one that, not the one I keep talking about, that they
This is
demolished it and,
brand new and they have a closing scheduled.
oh boy.
Yeah.
so they're
So-
buying and they're coming to us.
Yeah.
They're ready.
So I think they'll be happy to
I hear
accommodate
it.
a site visit. They're kind of in
Okay.
a bind.
But we haven't heard from the one that I talk about that
No,
they tore down going on 2 years now.
And Mark had checked on that because you had raised it. So
Yeah.
they're still within the window that they can rebuild. And that's assuming that these applications are complete. And I believe they are substantively complete, but I'm going to check again tomorrow before we notice them.
And again, one of them we've already looked at and the other one we need to look at.
Correct. You've looked at the site. You didn't have all the application materials at
Right.
that time.
Right.
But he kind of told us, oh, putting addition on here and pointed. We
Yeah.
didn't have, and it looked like property line wasn't a problem. The only question was the drainage ditch on the far side, but it looked like it was pretty. Yeah, I think
It
so. And they
wasn't-
said it was a ditch.
Mystery,
So,
yeah.
yeah, it's a drainage ditch.
Anything else, Don?
That's all I have. I appreciate your time.
Go around the room. Stephen? Totally confused, or you getting it, or,
I think I'm with you.
okay, great.
Yeah.
We understand.
Yep. All good.
I'll always be confused.
I think we need a planning
Fine.
101 public meeting.
What's say, Don?
Said we can hold a planning 101 public meeting.
Yeah.
Revisit everything.
I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, did you say 6:20? What did you say in the end for the site visit?
What time?
I,
Site visit.
yeah, did
You
you,
want to do 6 or do you want to do, I was thinking like 6:20. Just, it's only right down on Memorial Drive, so the drive here would be
Make it
short.
an even number, would you?
6:15, is that better?
6:15,
better.
that's
We're
good.
splitting the difference?
Yeah.
So 2 weeks from tonight,
Yeah,
I don't have a dress.
oh, you'll get an,
we'll get it in the agenda when Don sends it out.
Sometimes
sometimes-
if it's gonna be less parking or parking issue, a lot of these camp roads are like that.
Yeah,
We
so
meet here in the park.
We'll meet here in the parking lot a lot of times in
We'll
in carpool. So, and usually it'd be like 6:10, or if, for that one, it'd be like 6:10 because it's right down.
It's no problem on Memorial Drive. Everybody just parks right in the middle of the road anyway.
That's true. Everybody parks wherever there, so.
Haven't heard any more about the one, I forget the number now, it's, they wanted to go up, put a new driveway in. Paul,
I haven't heard
Bernier.
anything on that.
Hudden?
Paul Bernier.
Paul Bernier. No more on that?
They hired someone local to do plans for them because remember, they really didn't have the information, but wasn't what Paul did. So they hired someone, that person called me. It wasn't anyone that I knew. And I haven't heard back. It was quite a while ago.
They're back in town.
Oh, they are? Have you seen them? Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, you can't miss it.
It's one of those parked right in on Memorial Drive.
Can't miss it.
Haven't heard anything yet.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
I got 2 moves and a second. All in favor?
You got to vote, Betty.
All right. Patience. Thank you, folks. You all know our schedule.
make sure Don's got your email because we send group emails with like ride shares and stuff like that. Okay.
Well, that's the other thing. We avoid or don't